My name is Rebecca Miller, and for the last 5 years, I have lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood just outside of Denver, Colorado. To anyone passing by, my life might have looked picture perfect: a neat white house, a well-tended garden, and a husband who left for work every morning in a crisp shirt and tie. But the truth, as it so often is, was far from what it seemed. My husband, Daniel, and I had been married for nearly 12 years. In the beginning, he was everything I thought I needed: ambitious, funny, and endlessly charming. But as time went on, his ambition turned into obsession with work, his humor faded into sarcasm, and his charm got buried under endless hours of late nights at the office. For 5 years, Daniel had failed at one of the most basic parts of marriage: being present. He was never really there. Birthdays came and went with barely a glance up from his phone. Dinner conversations became one-sided, me rambling about my day while he scrolled through emails. Even anniversaries, those sacred milestones, became just another day to him. I felt invisible in my own marriage, as though the woman he had once loved had become a piece of furniture in the house. And then came Michael. Michael Johnson was my neighbor, the man who lived 2 doors down with his teenage daughter, Emily. His wife had passed away years earlier, and though tragedy had touched his life, Michael had a way of carrying himself that felt steady, grounded, and kind. He was in his mid-40s, a few years older than me, with a calm smile and a way of listening that made you feel like your words mattered. It started small. One afternoon, I was struggling with carrying groceries from the car when Daniel had once again stayed late at the office. Michael appeared out of nowhere, jogging over and grabbing 2 of the heavy bags from my arms. "You shouldn't have to do this alone," he said, flashing a warm smile. It wasn't just the groceries he was talking about. I think we both knew that. From then on, Michael became a constant presence. He would mow my front lawn when Daniel forgot. He'd fix the squeaky hinge on the gate that I had asked my husband to repair for months. One Saturday morning, I woke to the sound of hammering, only to find Michael on a ladder, repairing a section of the fence that Daniel had promised to take care of for years. But it wasn't just about the chores. It was the way Michael made me feel. He asked how I was doing and then actually waited for the answer. He remembered little details, like the fact that I loved chamomile tea before bed or that I hummed when I was nervous. When I baked cookies, he'd knock on my door just to tell me they smelled amazing. He made me laugh again, real, belly-aching laughter that I hadn't felt in years. I found myself waiting for those moments. A wave across the street, a chat by the mailbox, a shared cup of coffee on the porch when Emily was at school. Slowly, I realized something shocking. Michael was doing what Daniel had failed to do for 5 long years. He made me feel seen. He made me feel valued. He made me feel alive. At first, I felt guilty. Was it wrong to enjoy his company so much? Was it wrong to crave his attention the way a flower craves sunlight? But then I realized there was nothing wrong with appreciating kindness, with feeling joy where joy was given. My marriage had starved me of these things for so long that I had forgotten what they felt like. One evening stands out in my memory more than any other. I had been sitting on my porch, staring at the fading sunset, feeling the weight of another lonely day. Daniel had texted to say he wouldn't be home until late again. Michael must have noticed me sitting there because, a few minutes later, he appeared, holding 2 mugs of tea. "Chamomile," he said with a grin, handing one to me. "Thought you might need it." We sat in silence for a while, sipping the warm tea. Finally, he said softly, "Rebecca, you deserve to be happy. Don't ever forget that." Tears filled my eyes before I even realized I was crying. No one had said that to me in years. Daniel never noticed my sadness, never acknowledged the emptiness growing inside me. But Michael did. He saw me, not the woman going through the motions of marriage, but the person inside who longed to be loved, respected, and appreciated. That night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I realized something. What I loved about Michael wasn't just that he helped with chores or made me laugh. It was that he reminded me of who I was before I became invisible. He reminded me that I mattered. Over time, my friendship with Michael grew stronger, but it always remained respectful, always within the lines of what was appropriate. Yet, the impact he had on me was profound. He gave me back my confidence, my voice, my joy. He showed me what it meant to be valued, and for that, I absolutely loved what he brought into my life. It took me months of soul-searching, but eventually, I confronted Daniel. I told him how I felt, how I had been drowning in loneliness while he poured every ounce of himself into work. At first, he brushed it off, but when he realized how serious I was, something in him shifted. For the first time in years, Daniel really listened. Maybe it was the fear of losing me, maybe it was the shock of realizing just how far he had failed me, but slowly, he began to change. He started coming home earlier. He asked me about my day and actually looked into my eyes as I answered. It wasn't perfect, and it wasn't easy, but it was a start. And yet, I knew deep down that the change wasn't only because of him. It was because of Michael. My neighbor had reminded me of my worth, had filled the gap that my husband left for so long. Without him, I might have lost myself completely. Even now, when Daniel and I sit down to dinner together or take a walk in the park, I silently thank Michael. My neighbor managed to do what my husband had failed to do for 5 years. He reminded me that I was worthy of love, attention, and happiness. And I absolutely loved it. This isn't a story of betrayal, but of awakening. Sometimes, the people we least expect can show us the truth we've been too blind to see. Michael didn't save my marriage, but he saved me. And in doing so, he gave me the courage to demand the love I had been missing for so long.